Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. I was the naive guy in college who thought marrying my then cheating, toxic, and trashy girlfriend, Riantha, would change our toxic dynamic. Needless to say, no good things ever came out of that decision. I didn't just lose my mental well being, but my financial stability, the relations with people around me, and inevitably the custody of my son. Riantha truly messed me up in ways I don't want to fill this post up with. And by the time I ended up getting my head straight and decided I needed to get out, it had become too late because I had absolutely nothing except for my house with me. She had drained me mentally and physically so much that I had to leave my job due to my mental health, and the very little money I had was used in divorce and settlements. She took full advantage of this and took away my son because she knew she'd be able to hold him over my head, and she really did. But never in a million years would I have thought that I'd get to a point in life where I practically have to pick between the well-being of my son or my marriage. After Riantha and I got divorced, I went very low contact with her, only ever speaking to her if it was something concerning my son and his needs. She'd still taunt me over that, calling me a horrible father, etc., etc. But that all was something I could keep to myself because I love my son and didn't want to lose the very small opportunities I had to meet him. So when I met Ellie at a work event and hit it off with her, I knew I had to keep it hush-hush around Riantha. It's not like Riantha was single and bitter because of that. She was just a horrible person who didn't want to see me happy like ever. So I knew things were going to be rocky when the moment came and she had to find out that I was seeing Ellie, and it really was. I vividly remember the day I told Riantha about my engagement and plans to marry Ellie. She blew up at me and didn't let me see my son for a whopping 6 months until her mom practically had to get involved to convince her to not do this to me. So you guys can only imagine how much she flipped out when she realized we actually got married and Ellie wasn't just using me for my money, her exact words. She was so mad that she didn't even let my son come to our wedding, excusing it all as him being sick. I know he wasn't, even though she knew he wasn't. My son literally called me up and begged me to pick him up on the day of my wedding. My heart broke because I knew I couldn't do anything, as Riantha had threatened to call the cops if I tried to come get my son. I had to go through the wedding with a very heavy heart, and things didn't get any better from there because ever since I got married, Riantha caught wind of the fact that Ellie had finally moved into my house. From what my ex-mother-in-law told me, she had been practically going around telling everyone that I'm replacing her as a mom, and that's the only reason she's not giving up on custody of my son. It makes absolutely no sense because not only she's married herself, but also frequently forces my son to call her new husband dad. This woman is truly vile, and unfortunately, I wish I could say this is the end of it all, but it really isn't. In fact, I think I need to say that things only got worse from there on. After about pitch silence for a month after we got married, it was Christmas. It wasn't like I was enjoying not being able to see my son. I was starting to get concerned, and Ellie and I had definitely started talking about looking for lawyers and changing the custody agreement. Due to all of this stress, this year's Christmas was a very sad one because I didn't even get to see my son. But the thing that has really brought me were the texts that Riantha sent me the night of Christmas. Riantha sent me about 20 texts, all one after the other, begging me to not let Ellie into the room which used to belong to her and would use it to store her clothes and makeup. The texts just got darker from there onwards because her begging turned into threats as she began confessing to me in great detail how she'd go as far as to hurt our son if things didn't go her way. Apparently, the reason why she doesn't want Ellie to go to the room is because she doesn't want to be forgotten for everything she did for me. Being shocked would be an understatement because I was quite literally shaken up. I tried calling her numerous times that night but got no response. Then I called her husband, who wasn't home either. My final hope was my ex-mother-in-law, who thankfully replied and checked up on Riantha. I was then informed that Riantha was drunk out of her mind that night. My mother-in-law picked my son up from her place and currently he's been living with her. I think this was the straw that broke the camel's back because even her mom is extremely angry at her. I've been out of words ever since that situation took place. It's barely been a day since all of this happened, but Riantha hasn't stopped spamming my phone with texts, blaming me for her reaction because apparently I'm wrong for triggering her into a reaction like this. WTF? Can I even do here? I would really appreciate any advice you guys have for me. I ended up meeting my lawyer as soon as he was back from his Christmas vacation, and he gave me a lot of insight about what I can do about the custody agreement. He said that it'll be quite easy to change the custody agreement, but it's only Riantha that might make things harder. But thankfully, with the text messages, there is hope for things to get better. I also decided to go to the cops as suggested and filed a complaint against Riantha and her threatening messages. The cops, unfortunately, did not take immediate action but assured me that they will look into the case as soon as they could. After sorting that out, I decided to call Riantha's mom and her husband for a meeting. I knew if I was going to drag her into court and try to go for full custody, then they definitely deserve to know from my end what's up instead of her filling their heads up with BS. Taking sides is something I leave up to them. Well, we met at this restaurant and sat down over a meal where I put down everything to the both of them. I especially highlighted the situation that took place during Christmas, and Riantha's husband, Jonathan, especially seemed pretty shaken up and taken aback. He admitted that he definitely knew that something was off about Riantha and her relationship with my son and me, but did not know the extent of it, which is totally fair because his husband is often on business trips and barely home. Not much happened aside from that. My ex-mother-in-law and Jonathan both looked like I had given them a lot to think about, and I knew I didn't want to fill up their heads more, so I just left it at that. I'm currently home typing this, trying to relax as much as I possibly can, just hoping that I can see my son soon, but I know this is just the beginning of it all. Hopefully, a beginning to a good ending. Things blew up as Riantha tried to break into my house a couple of days back. I guess everything finally came crashing down for her and she couldn't handle it at all. The cops gave her a thorough warning, and apparently Jonathan has started the separation process as well. He confessed to me that he cannot have a family with someone who threatens to hurt their children over some relationship issue. I completely agree with him. I honestly wish I could undo having a child with her somehow. Not saying I regret having a son, but I regret having him with a horrible and unstable mom like her. The woman who can threaten to hurt her son and keep her away from her father for absolutely no reason can practically do anything, and she really did prove that to me today. It was the moment she realized it could not be anyone other than me telling Jonathan and the cops about everything. She tried to break into my house. Unfortunately, yet fortunately, I knew something like this was to be expected from Riantha, so I already had cameras put up inside and outside my house, which warned me as soon as they detected movement at a time when no one was supposed to be home. I immediately called the cops and drove myself over as I watched Riantha desperately try to break into my house. It was shocking because that day I truly understood the extent to which she has lost her mental stability. I knew I had to press charges, and I did. That led to her being taken away. The CPS got involved, and thankfully, I was able to take my son in. There's nothing much that has happened ever since. The cops call me, Jonathan and my ex mother in law, every once in a while for questioning over the break in incident and the threats she sent me. She's not spending a very long time in jail, apparently, but more time in the psychiatric facility. Regardless of where they take her, I just hope it's as far away as possible from my son. A lot of you guys have been messaging and checking up on me, so I think I owe you all this final update. Well, basically, things happen as I predicted. Riantha was given jail time and also put into the psychiatric facility because her mental well being was really low. As for my son, being the guardian and the only capable parent present, I was given his custody completely. I really have to thank Jonathan and Riantha's mom for this because they were the ones who came forward to give their statements to the court time and again for the same. Jonathan and Riantha have started their divorce proceedings, and my ex-mother-in-law has decided to go low contact with Riantha, which is understandable because at the end of the day, Riantha is really struggling with her mental health, and she does need support from someone. Unfortunately, that person is not me, though. Currently, my complete focus is on my son, who has been affected a lot because of everything that went down. I have put him in therapy, and I have also started family therapy with him. He's having a bit of a hard time adjusting here, but I know he's also starting to warm up towards Ellie and I, which is what matters to me. In a situation like this, time is nothing. All that matters is healing, and I just hope my son ends up healing and blooming into the amazing person that he is. Thank you all for your eye-opening comments. NTA, Riantha needs psychological help. She sounds like a narcissist big time, and I fear that there's not much of a cure for her. I mean, what therapy can cure a mother who threatens to hurt their child? I'm disgusted. I'm glad you could have your son back. NTA, but you were so close to being one if you didn't go to the cops. This all should have been done the day she didn't let you see your son. Please don't let your son go back to her again. My fiance and I, 28 female and 29 male, recently moved in with my mom. My dad passed away around 6 months ago, and my mom has been having a really hard time. So we moved in with her so she wouldn't be alone. She asked it as a favor, and my fiance and I accepted. Co-living with my mom isn't ideal at all because she's overall a very controlling person, but we mostly try to ignore her tantrums and keep the peace so she can overcome her grief the easiest way possible. Few notes. My mom doesn't pay anything from her own pocket since the day we moved in. Everything in the house is paid by my fiance and I. My mom has her retirement money but doesn't spend any of it. She constantly says she's out of money because she does the grocery shopping, but it doesn't add up because her retirement salary is around the same amount as my salary and my fiance's salary. She ends up begging for more money, but whenever I don't give to her, she says I'm taking advantage of her and that I should be ashamed of not financially helping her more. When me and my fiance actually finance everything in the house. Fiance and I also work remotely, and from 9 to 5, we need quiet hours to work. At first, Mom didn't respect that, but eventually she adjusted. Brother, who I'll mention later, works but doesn't like giving away his money and contributing. So my brother's wife filed for divorce after several horrible encounters, which I will not go into much detail about. Him and I don't have the best relationship, and my fiance despises him. When Mom invited him to stay home from now on, I said there's no way. He's not going to contribute anything financially. He's going to make my fiance feel uncomfortable with the way he acts and talks. He doesn't respect boundaries or quiet hours and makes much noise, even during our work hours. Plus, he's a horrible person we don't wish to have around. My mom said she can't turn her kid away, and he's my brother. I should be more compassionate, and after all, it's her house, and she doesn't need my permission. I said, fine, but it's either us or him. And since she wants him, my fiance and I will start preparing to move out. My mom now believes we are horrible for turning our backs on her and my brother and has shamed me to my entire family for not supporting her like I should. She disowned me and called me a disgrace of a son. My fiance said we made the right choice, but I'm scared if I messed up in any way, and I'm TA. NTA, your mother is pissed that she won't be able to continue financially abusing you once you move out. Well, not at the level she has been anyway. She'll probably still play the sympathy card to get you to give her money. You moving out is the best solution for everyone but your mother. NTA, but 3 words. Move out now. Doesn't matter if she wants him there or not. She's emotionally and financially abusing you and your wife, and now wants to add a creep to the mix. And when you try to play the very reasonable boundary of not wanting the creep near your wife, she starts the guilt trips and insults. Maybe you, out of your own grief, feel like you owe it to your dad to take care of her, but you don't. Get away from this woman, because I'm pretty sure your wife is 10 times more fed up with her than you. And if you don't pick her now, well, you'll be on the same boat as your brother. I'm female, 26. My dad has been dating his girlfriend for about 19, 20 years. Yes, just dating. They still live in separate houses. Long story short, I got married this past summer, and leading up to my wedding, my dad's girlfriend kept making comments to my dad and her daughter, thinking they wouldn't tell me, that she thinks that I'm just a child and shouldn't be planning a wedding on my own because I'm going to forget many key details. As the wedding planning continued, she did not approve of the decisions we were making because we did not want a traditional wedding. We just wanted fun and simple. But his girlfriend said that is not how weddings work. There are guidelines we need to follow. The rules we weren't following included the fact that we were doing potluck style and asking our guests to bring a dish in lieu of a gift. Or the fact that I was having both my mom and my dad walk me down the aisle together, and we were only having immediate family and our bridal parties at the ceremony, and having the rest of the guests meet at the reception hall afterwards. During the wedding planning, she had made comments stating that she thinks we should not invite her siblings or parents to my wedding because she feels embarrassed for them to see the way we were having our wedding, even though they've been in my life for over 20 years. And I did end up inviting them anyways. Now, flash forward to my wedding day. Leading up to the ceremony, family members had overheard her saying to her daughter that there is no way my dad and my mom should sit together at the ceremony. During the signing of papers in the ceremony, she stands up and walks up to the table and says the tablecloth doesn't look right and she needs to fix it. When guests were bringing in dishes at the reception, there hit a point where she told guests to put their dishes back in their car because it wasn't needed. My friends and family members overheard her shit-talking my mom during the reception and judging the dress my mom chose to wear, etc. My mom looks beautiful. I have not talked to her since the wedding because I am so upset at how she handled the situation and the fact that she was shit-talking my mom. And my parents have a very amicable, SP, relationship. My dad keeps saying that I should reach out and smooth things over with her, and then continues to tell me that she's still complaining about how we chose to have our wedding and it was 3 months ago. All our other guests and family have said they loved our laid-back style wedding. The main reason I'm wondering if ITA is because she has brain damage from an accident that happened about 5 or so years ago. And yes, it has changed a lot of things about her, but IMO, the way she treated me and my family and my wedding is not out of character for her even before the accident. She has always been entitled, judgmental, and opinionated. So AITA? NTA, she does not have the right, even with severe medical issues, to treat you badly or criticize how you have your own wedding to this extent. She doesn't have to like it, but she's been an AH before, during, and after about it, and that's entirely on her. Your dad needs to stop annoying you about this and start telling his girlfriend that she's out of line. You should not apologize for having your wedding your way. You do not have to put up with her. Congratulations on the wedding, and I hope your dad comes around. Doubt the girlfriend will. NTA, brain damage or not, it doesn't justify her going around trying to make your wedding her wedding. Your dad keeps telling you to reach out, but you only reach out when you're ready. She tried to ruin your wedding, and he doesn't seem to have done much to prevent her from acting this way, or doesn't seem to even really care. If someone, especially a step-parent, tried to pull stunts like this at my wedding, my parents would both be giving them a piece of their